Okay, so before we started today, we did field a couple of questions on Twitter. But as we're chatting, if there's any questions that you had about the writing process or how Sound the Bells came together, feel free to holler here. Okay, I'm firing up the Twitter cues. I'll answer that first. Trina Scala. What do I like most about being home for a bit? It's surprisingly challenging to have all of your meals dictated. You know what I mean? Like not being able to cook or decide when and what you eat. You can get pretty neurotic about it, and I have. So when I'm home, I really like being able to cook. Ooh, favorite orchestra you performed with? Come on! I mean, for me, getting a call from the Minnesota Orchestra to learn how to operate on that stage makes them some of my favorite old friends. Okay, from Twitter. This question was about the cape, which is a garment that I wore on stage. How did I end up with the cape? I knew that I wanted to wear something special on stage at Orchestra Hall. It's really big. You got a lot of acreage to fill, and I asked a local designer named Joy if she'd be game to do something cool with me. So we developed a sequined gown, and then as soon as she said that it might be possible to do cape, I was like, how about hooded with a train and red with sequins? And she was game. Why am I spending so much time in London? I can't tell you yet, but I'm very excited to tell you soon. Thanks. What are my biggest goals? It's tricky. They change, I think, as you keep going. For a long time, it was to write a book. And thanks, Dutton, thanks to those of you who purchased a copy, I was able to do that. I think now I want to make sure that I stay brave, if that makes sense. It's easy to, I don't know, fear of losing is a big deal. And I want to make sure that that the stuff that I'm presenting is stuff I'm really proud of, and I continue to take risks. So trying to figure out what that is, I guess. The question about race, which you can maybe see scrolling on your screen. For someone who is half Latin and who is half white and is white passing, how does that define your identity? Man, has it changed. I think in the very beginning, if someone called me a white rapper, I would have said shut up, you haven't done your homework. You know, my mother's Puerto Rican, I'm half Puerto Rican, and now I'm a lot more sensitive to the fact that I look white and that I benefit from being white. So even though I can still say you haven't done your homework, you know, my mother's Puerto Rican, I think a lot harder about the opportunities that's afforded me and the struggles. The opportunities that's afforded me and the struggles. Saved me from. It's tricky. Awesome. The new whiskey. Yes, it's rye whiskey, and it's available today in most locations in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and also in Rochester. Can you order it online? You probably have to hit up the retailer to find out if they mail it, but I would try Certix first. Would I ever consider collaborating with the Cleveland Orchestra? Yes. Holler. My dream venue or collaboration. I like the idea of playing in weird places. You know, places that aren't designed for music. And I like the idea of collaborating with people who aren't musicians. You know, putting on cross-disciplinary stuff is always. I don't know why that appeals to me. Maybe it's because I don't like being predictable, And so if there's a way to scramble expectations, I'm always excited about that. Okay, so this is a good question. What are some of the favorite tempo expressions, like Sound the Bells, Death of Valor? So before I started working with an orchestra, I didn't realize that at the top of the score, there's very often a little bit of text that will provide musicians just a little bit of insight on like the general vibe or feel of a piece. And I was really excited to learn that because Andy Thompson, who orchestrated the entire record, was able to give me license to write some of those. So I think we wrote Candy Hearts and Existentialism was the performance direction or the tempo marking for Half of You. Death with Valor was the one for Sound the Bells. Streetlight on Wet Pavement. Becky's here. Streetlight on Wet Pavement. That was the one for Ride. And I think Unfuckwithable was either Fighting Fish or Skeleton Key. Okay, so a familiar face asks, I'm going to both shows in New York. Is that weird to see the same face twice? I dig it. I'll be honest though, like it's part of why I don't like performing the same show twice. I feel lucky. I feel lucky when someone comes to more than one stop on a tour, and I hate the idea of presenting something that's familiar. So my 2 shows in New York, one of which is tomorrow in Manhattan, and the other is on Friday in Brooklyn, will be different. And the other is on Friday in Brooklyn, will be different shows. Back. But the thing that can be tricky about performing with an orchestra is you've got so many players on stage, and none of them are listening to the click, which means all of them are really relying on the gestures of the conductor to stay on time. And so time is this really organic entity on stage in an orchestra in a way that's exciting. But it feels like, you know, when you like that. And as you can imagine, it was kind of tricky to mix out of the record. So that wasn't my row to hoe. But for Andy, who also mixed the record, I think for a solid week, he was at war with this Whistler. And as I understand it, he actually did find out the identity of the person who did it, and they've made amends. I'm excited to see you in Philly too. This week I'm on tour, so this is like the first run of shows that we'll have done anywhere outside of Minnesota with a string quartet. So we'll be in Philly and Brooklyn, Boston, DC, and Manhattan. Ooh, would I ever make an album entirely in Spanish? Earring down. My Spanish is significantly lousier than my English, and I feel like so much of what I do runs on language that I would love to do an album in Spanish, but I'd have to spend some time in Puerto Rico or in Spain first to make sure that I felt like I had the full palette of expression. Any San Diego stops? Not this time around. You should come to San Francisco. Whoa. did I ever do anything with the song titled Lost and Found? That's such a deep cut. Thanks for asking that. I sing it a lot, which to me means that it's probably not dead, you know? Like when a song just kind of doesn't make the cut, very often a year or two later, it's just out of sight and out of mind. But I've played that one once a month trying to find a way to revive it. So I don't know if it'll live again under that title, but I'm trying. It's in 11. Or Andy said it's in 5.5, but I don't know the damn difference. So it's kind of a hard one to do. And also, rap songs about Rorschach are tough. My brother's on! Oh, man. Hi, Max. Oh. Yay. Hi, Max. Oh. Yay. Yay. He says, when's your next San Francisco? And I wrote them. Actually, I geeked out. Like I had like been such a fan at their show that the lead singer took a photo, and when he posted it, I scanned for my face in the crowd and said, "Hey, I was at that show. Do you ever want to perform together?" So if you know them, please pressure them. How do I think my sound will evolve into my next project? Yeah, I'll be honest. I feel like I've done this big, deep dive into beauty in the last few projects, and I'm eager to let's see. Oh man, that's awesome. Somebody just finished the book, and a neighbor at the bar had read it as well. I cannot tell you statistically how unlikely that is. Very sweet. So someone asks about the inspiration for a song called Dixon's Girl. I would say not all my songs at this point, but most of them are based on true lived experiences. And that one was very much written almost verbatim after meeting a really powerful female performer at a bar where I was slated to perform, as was she. A snowstorm put us off for the night, and so instead we spent the evening drinking, and we were both like really diehard vegetarians at the time who both went out for fried chicken that night. And I changed her name, and I changed the name of the club that we went to because I didn't want her to be recognized in that song. I buy all of my sweaters, almost, secondhand or occasionally from H&M when I'm on the road. Whiskey, I know, you know, it isn't a lack of interest in distributing it. It's the fact that liquor laws are tricky, right? So it's challenging to distribute outside Minnesota. And there's not that many of it, so it's going to sell there. Oh, if anybody, whoever wrote that question about Chinese, will you post it again? Ooh, anything I could have changed in my process with the Minnesota Orchestra? I would like to think that relationship isn't done yet. I don't think it is. I'm homies with those people. I think we'll probably do something again sometime soon. I think by the time we do, I should have a slightly more considerable understanding of music theory. I think any advantage that I had by the fact that I was like, I don't know the rules, I'm breaking all of them, I'm following my intuition. I've done that already, like I've wrung that rag dry, so I think it would probably serve my music to figure out the mechanics a little bit more. Wow. My wife and I were at your New Year's show at Astor, and you proposed to her outside the river. Congrats. That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, what's up, Brandon? Man. Oh, wow, man, that's so cool. I had the chance to tour through China for the first time last year, and I'm hoping to maybe return as well. So stay tuned it sounds like maybe if there's anybody in Beijing who's listening. But as the favorite song I've written, sometimes I think that the actual lyrics that I'm most proud of aren't always in the songs that music. It's kind of two scales of evaluation. But I made a really complicated flow chart when I wrote the song Annabelle. It had like arrows and text boxes, like if you use this 4-bar, then the story could go this. It was like a choose your own adventure. I'm very proud of that lyric set. Yeah. Hi. Man, flattered, genuinely, that so many people have questions about this stuff. Okay, a couple more from Twitter. To the question about New York, what are my favorite things to do in New York? I admit it is a list that I'm still building, but it's a great city to be a pedestrian in, to watch little kids freaking out in fountains and to watch parents flirting or yelling with one another in all variety of human languages. I like the frozen yogurt quite a bit. I love the food. I love the fact that people joke here. I think New York gets a bad rap for being like aggro and unfriendly. I find it to be a very friendly place generally. Writing much poetry lately? Some, yeah, I am. I've also been writing some fiction. What's my favorite place to stop on tour? I'm always excited. This is such a cop-out, but I'm always excited to go to a city that I've never been to before. I'm always particularly excited when we get that opportunity. Oh man, how do I characterize my music for somebody who hasn't heard it before? Very tricky. It's very tricky. I think the best thing, if I can do it, is to say, hey, instead of me hurling adjectives at you for a minute, could you just listen for a minute? Because they're going to know if they like it, right? There's no amount of persuasion that I could do to get someone to like music that doesn't resonate. But I think I've got a pretty good capture rate, I think a fair amount of people, when they hear it or when they see it live, like it. But the trick is, because it's so multi-genre, it's tough to describe. It takes a lot of words. You've heard rumors of a podcast. No comment. Am I looking to get involved in anything outside of music? Yeah. I would say for me, that the majority of my career feels like it's fallen. That the majority of my career feels like it's fallen. Under the umbrella of like working out at a gym and laughing, because there are some anecdotes that they mentioned that I didn't remember, and also because Laserbeak and Andy are very good at managing me, like in the way that you manage a child. You know what I mean? Like, oh, good idea, Dess. Let's circle back in an hour and kind of revisit that and see if that, that's how you still feel. And I'm pretty sure that not only did they manage the song selection, but they probably managed me to agree with them on all of them. So I wasn't even aware that was happening in all likelihood. I would love to perform with Stargaze in Berlin. That's an organization that Andy Astronautilus performs with. Yeah, I'm interested. We haven't been able to figure it out, but I'd love to. My advice to musicians in Minnesota, I think it would be to band together, like Like, you can get so much done with not that much money to start with, you know? Like, if somebody's good at photos and you're good at writing bios and somebody else is willing to spend 10 hours, like, assembling a press list, you can do so much together without hiring outside help first. Yes! Tuning fork. Thanks, man. We work hard on the pre-order packages, and they're fun. They're fun. How long did it take to get the Warsaw lyrics up to speed, or did I get it the first shot? It took a little while, and there's one line that I always stumble on live, and I'm not going to tell you that line because then you'll always hear it, but it's a hard one. It's fast. I will say, though, that there's something in, I don't know exactly how to do, I tried to describe this to my mom, and I don't know how, that when you know where a syllable is supposed to land. I might have done that. That I've been tempted to do some, like, Alexander technique body work. I do get some massages lately. My like, being in the van is kind of tough on your lower back. Yeah. Thank you for learning the lyrics to Warsaw. You know, that song was titled because there's like a phrase in the middle where I say high note, blew the motherfucking walls off, and it echoes walls off, and Joe Mabbitt, who masters who mixes and engineers a lot of the Doomtree records, didn't know what I was saying. You know, he was busy mixing, and he thought I was saying Warsaw, Warsaw, Warsaw. So at the end of that tune, when we didn't know what to name it, Laserbeak insisted that it should be called Barefaced, but that sounds like barefaced, you know. And Mabbitt suggested Warsaw. Oh my God, Dr. Grey Duck, get out of my, stop wasting my time. Reiki massage, I feel you. Have I ever regretted a piece of work? Oh, I put it into the world. Yeah, there's one. Well, the closest I got to regretting a song was a song called Scuffle. I was in a lot of pain when I wrote it. And I think that's an okay place to write music from, as long as it's tempered with generosity. You know, like trying at least to see stuff from other people's perspectives. And I didn't do the full job on that song before I put it out, about thinking about how it would affect everybody. Is it going to be weird having a bunch of people at City Winery? I don't think so. I think that this music, knock on wood, yeah, I think this music translates to standing up and sitting down okay. How was it to put together the first book that I wrote, Spiral Bound? It was nerve-wracking. I was right up against the deadline, but man, when it came out, it felt so good, because I think I had been I'd been asking rap music to be a book for a long time, and I felt so much better when I'd actually written. Did I cry hearing my songs performed by the Minnesota Orchestra? Yes, there's one song. And it isn't, is my little brother, and he He filmed that footage in Mexico where I was blonde, and he and I both have a sweet tooth, so we went to, I think, my favorite candy store that I discovered south of the border. Store that I discovered south of the border, and went there twice, maybe one more time when he was asleep. Most memorable experience in South Africa. Man, South Africa is. I had pitched to try to accompany the orchestra there when I first learned that they were going, because I'd been a few times earlier. I'd been a few times before as a touring rapper. South Africa blows my mind. I find it very confusing. I find it very compelling. The welcome is super warm. Parts of it are pretty dangerous for petty crime. The food is fantastic. The social dynamics are confounding. Like, I don't know. It's a place I think that I keep wanting to return because I don't quite understand it. Favorite Doomtree song to perform? Sometimes it's ones that I'm not on. There's a couple that I really like Knives on Fire. I really like dancing around to that one. Awesome. South Africa. Yeah, it's a trip. Go. Sure. Yeah. So the question was, which song made me emotional with the performing with the Minnesota Orchestra? The song Warsaw, the long instrumental outro, where to perform that, I figured I either had to leave stage or I had to do something bodily that would earn my presence on stage because I wasn't vocalizing. So I tried leaving stage in rehearsals and that didn't feel right. So I choreographed blinking in line with the field snare. It was those big loud drums. So I was blinking in time with those, and I was doing shoulder isolations in a way that felt just a little bit robotic. And I just, I don't know, I guess I just kind of let it move me. And it did make me tear up. Somebody says that they came to our recent show in Cardiff. Thank you. And that she probably sat next to my father and his wife. Yes, he's a very proud dad in the sweetest way possible. So that I'm partnering with players where all of our strengths are on showcase. What am I currently reading? I'm reading a bunch of science essays, so it's like, those best of science writing. I'm reading, I think, 2018. What a boring answer, but that's what I'm reading. Okay. Gosh. Okay. So the question about touring, yes, it is tricky to try to figure out how to tour an orchestral record because obviously I can't get the orchestra to just like hop in the tour van. So in designing the Sound the Bells tour, I think the goal was to try to figure out how to get some representation or some flavor for what this classical collaboration looked and felt like. So touring with a series of string quartets met that objective. And then also to make sure that there's some, high energy performance. So I'll be touring with my regular full band, the members of Moniker. So that's Matthew Santos, Sam Hawkins, and Jonathan Marks. Ooh, Doomtree and the Minnesota Orchestra, what song would I pick? I don't know. I thought a lot about it. You should write your picks. It would have to be, I think it would be something on the new, on All Hands, because there's so much of that has so many layered textures. I think it would translate really well. Although Andy would know better. Hey, thanks for the stickers. Yep, took them to Wales. Are there some philosophers or theologians that have influenced the stuff that I do? I like Bertrand Russell. Although I'll make this a conditional endorsement in that I know that some of the philosophers that I'm most attracted to, I realized later, it was because they had such great creative writing skills, right? Because they have these super hard ideas that to transmit them effectively necessitated a lot of metaphor and figurative language. So I think sometimes I was just like, yo, the smart creative writers seem to be hanging out over here with the philosophers. When I was in college, I really liked Bentham and Mill, so that's like the utilitarian theory, which means essentially that people are trying to capitalize and optimize the amount of happiness and pleasure that they feel, and there's a moral obligation to reduce as much suffering as we can. Peter Singer's Bauhaus, who's also utilitarian. Any help in getting tickets for your show tomorrow in NYC? I can help you by directing you to the website for National Sawdust for the show on Friday. I know that's lousy, but the show tomorrow is sold out. But on Friday, we're in Brooklyn, so an easy train ride. Favorite women philosophers? Good question. Frustrating answer, but I would say Martha Nussbaum. I did my college dissertation on her, and I thought she was really cool. Can I recommend a good book? Ooh, here's one that's sort of prurient, but also super smart. I would recommend Bonk, which is a book about sex by Mary Roach. Or her most recent book was called Grunt, and it's super good too. That one's about the science of the war, of military technology and war. Surprisingly interesting. I also think that the Minnesota Orchestra could tear up Grand Experiment. Good idea. How did I get to know John and Hank Green? I was asked to speak to participate. I was asked to participate in a conference called NerdCon in Minneapolis. And I got to meet those guys there. And it was